Chardonnay, widely regarded as the king of the white varietals. It's a very old varietal. It's been in production for hundreds of years, literally. Its origins are Burgundy, the Burgundy region in central France. And from France, it migrated to Australia, New Zealand, America, Chile, South Africa. A very regarded varietal, very versatile, generally produced in two styles. So you'd have in Europe at least, the unwooded version, famously known as the Chablis region, and then the wooded component side of it, where it's fermented in barrels ranging from old barrels to 100% new barrels, depending on the style of the producer. It's a varietal that I think at Thelema is extremely well suited. In its homeland in France, it's grown successfully in limestone or lime-rich soils, so medium to high pH soils. There are pockets within the Stellenbosch region. Not the whole of Stellenbosch is suited to growing Chardonnay. You generally want to grow Chardonnay in a cooler region, slightly at altitude possibly if you can. At Thelema we have found that most of our best blocks of Chardonnay, as we immigrate or migrate up the mountain, the Simonsberg mountain, we're getting very good fruit up in that area. And in future, if we replant or plant more Chardonnay, it would probably be up on the slopes of the Simonsberg mountain. It's not a very vigorous varietal, so you get a medium crop production. And as I said, there's the wooded or unwooded version. At Thelema, we have dabbled in the unwooded version, but primarily it's barrel fermented, barrel aged. What we have done, maybe in the past, Thelema, we've liked to, if you go back to the production method, we're in that area where we are cleaning the juice. So after it's been pressed, it's settled. Once that juice is settled, we would rack off or draw off the clean wine into a fermenter before it goes to barrel. And in the past, we've always, what we call the fluff, the little component on top of your lees, which we like to draw off. So your wine is not crystal clear when it comes to barrel. And you get a richness with that. And that can manipulate your style of your wine in a certain way. You get almost a struck match, cordite note on the nose sometimes. And you can play around with it. You can have a very clean ferment, none of that lees, and you get a cleaner style of Chardonnay. So we bordering on, specifically at the Stellenbosch property, we border on a little bit of dirty juice to give us richness and complexity. And because Stellenbosch is a warmer area than the Elgin, or the Sutherland property, which I've mentioned now, we tend to go through a bit more malolactic, so you have more of that buttery citrusness, which is very typical of Chardonnay as a varietal. Ripe citrus is your predominant descriptor there. The butteriness is a second component which comes from the fermentation. Almost a leesiness, and creme brulee kind of notes come through. But so that's the one style of our Chard. Then if you look at the Sutherland farm, the Elgin production, we have a much leaner style of Chardonnay. We have higher acidity, lower pHs. Very interesting style of Chardonnay, but very different from Stellenbosch, where we have a richness here. We have a more classic, sleek version of Chardonnay coming from Sutherland. And it is almost a wine that you have to put through the secondary or malolactic fermentation to soften it. And it's a wine that ages exceptionally well. Both farms or both regions age exceptionally well. Okay, the Chardonnay can expresses itself in different ways. And in a warmer climate, which is typical of Stellenbosch, you would, due to the amount of sunlight hours, it's a riper style of wine, possibly a slightly higher alcohol. And almost a fatter wine, richer, and that needs wood to help tone it and balance it down a bit, as opposed to the Elgin, where you have a much cooler climate. I mean, it's an apple growing area, so typically a cooler climate, and a wine that almost needs less oak, I would say. In our opinion, we oak our Stellenbosch a little bit more than we do our Elgin wines, and I think the richness of Stellenbosch can handle the oak better, where Sutherland is a lot more classic, burgundy styled almost. You get that green peach, whetstone kind of characters coming through, and that doesn't want too much wood. We do encourage a malolactic fermentation because those wines can be very steely, very sleek. So we encourage a bit of secondary fermentation just to lift and fill the wines out a bit.